probably 10 other dart players you can name put together.
Yeah, he has won more darts matches that he shouldn't have won than perhaps anybody in the entire history of the game. It's unbelievable how he has managed to wrestle winning positions from seemingly nowhere, not even playing well, just getting the job done.
Well, I have to say the last World Championship he won. We were at the top of the show once and Barney had gone out and Phil Taylor had gone out, and Dave Clark said to me, you know, who do you fancy? I said, well, John Part has a way of winning games and getting over the line, and I actually did tip him at 16-1. And I have to say, a certain Lawrence D'Alio, apparently, rugby man, had a few quid on it. I got a text message from him. It was a few years ago now. But, yeah, he had a few quid on it. But you're right, he does have this grit and determination. You never see him throw a dart away. You know, he's going to fight you for every inch of that stage. And at the moment, he takes up a fair few inches of the stage as well.
Is it just a text message you got from D'Alio? No tickets to Twickenham Rod? I know you like a blag.
No, it was actually through our media officer. Dave Allen told me, who would be listening. He was the one who told me that they got a message from him. And it's always nice because you do get ripped to pieces when you predict something that doesn't come off.
Well, first to 6 here. It's 140 from Cullen. Kind of needed it, really, as Part had made a slightly livelier start than him. Winner of this one goes on to play either Michael Mansell or the reigning Dutch darts master, Kim Huybrechts. Yet to see Huybrechts in action, of course. We will do this afternoon. It's the match after this against Mickey Mansell. And then it will be Wes Newton versus Dean Winstanley to round off the afternoon session. So Part looking at 144. It won't happen. And Cullen will have 71 to hold his throw. In fact, there's not a great deal of pressure on it either.
Well, look at the treble 13. He's hit that. Double 16 for the first leg. And that is a tidy 14 dart leg from Joe Cullen. As I said, I was talking to John earlier on, and he told me he's just slowed his throw up a little bit. He feels that he's more consistent, he's more accurate. He says that as I've got older, you know, things have to change. And we had a good talk about, you know, you put on weight. Obviously, you put on weight on the arm as well, so there's more fatigue on the muscle. And people tend to go, oh, what a load of rubbish and that. It's actual fact. You know, the body works in different ways as you get older. And you have to adapt to it. Or just pack up like I did.
Well, that's one option that John Part won't be taking. I remember hearing him do an interview. It would have been at the World Championships, not the one just gone, the one before that, saying, look, I'll be here long after Phil Taylor's stopped, long after everyone's stopped. If it's just me on a stage playing darts on my own, I'll be here. It's the game he loves. It's a game he won't walk away from.
No, and he's a father again this year, or last year I should say. The baby must be coming up nearly 1. So I suppose there's life in the old dog yet, not only on the dartboard.
Well, look, he won one of these European Tour events last year, won the first one. He beat Huybrechts, Suljovic, Whitlock, Lewis, Kellett. That's not a bad set of players to beat over a weekend.
Well, that was another weekend, Dan, where a lot of the big boys fell early. And that was another example, as we was talking about at the top of this show of this here, that he knows how to win. When people go out, he knows how to get over that line. And when he beat Kirk Shepherd in the final World Championship, it was a very professional job from him, the whole tournament.
Well, he wanted 4 19s there and he strayed into the 7. He'd done the hard part by hitting the treble 19 first off, but we know he will be back because Cullen's back on 175.
Yeah, he didn't need to go that route, did he? You know, because Cullen wasn't on a check-out, so he didn't know to go the bullseye. And knowing John, if it hit the 4 19s, he wouldn't have gone for the bullseye anyway.
Well, he's got a dart at double 16 here. And one for double 8. To level the match at 1 apiece. Just outside, and Joe Cullen has got an opportunity to take a 2-0 lead. The breaker throw, 58 left. Double top, just the 1 dart, and it's short. Now, Cullen did win 6-5 against Peter Hudson in the first round. Wasn't vintage stuff. One part. Running close here, he's got to go all the way across the other side of the board for double four. And sneaks it in there. The green bit comes to his rescue, and it's one apiece. Yeah, Cullen did beat Peter Hudson 6-5. It was not vintage stuff. He hit 3 maximums, but only an average of just under 84. And a lot of his darts repeatedly were falling below that treble 20 bed. It was making it very, very hard for him to get any scoring. They looked tired, almost lazy darts. It doesn't look like he's quite fallen into that trap as yet. It's early days in this match. But if he can get his range, that's a much better dart for Joe Cullen. And follows it into the treble 20.
It is a fact, Dan. You know, some people, when they're playing bad, it's because they're not throwing the dart hard enough. And they're, you know, when you're not throwing the dart hard enough, as John Park fills it up, and there's certainly strong darts from John Park. Of course, if you're not throwing it hard enough, then you've got to throw it higher to get it to the board and get it up to that treble. And, you know, I actually see this in Barney's game a little bit. He doesn't seem to, he tries to float them in too much. And that's where he loses his line and length.
John Park, kick it in here. 320 off in 6 darts. He's on a potential 11 darter on the Cullen throw. You see, right there is where a lot of Joe Cullen's darts were landing in the first match against Peter Hudson. In the end, he's given himself a shot here, but John Park is looking at a potential 11 dart leg. Well, it's going to have to be a 12 dart. It might be on the ball. No. He's coming across for double 13. Well, a missed dart. But 74 is not a gimme. Fantastic first dart will get him 2 at a double. He only needs the 1, and Joe Cullen is looking pretty clinical on double 16 at the minute.
Yes, 2 14 dart legs for the 2 legs to Cullen. I think John Parks was 19, but he was unlucky there. Dart at double 13 to break the throw. At the moment, Cullen is doing nothing wrong, especially on his throw.
Certainly isn't. And John Park came here at the back end of last year for the tournament here at the NH Königshof, which was also streamed free live and worldwide on the PDC YouTube channel. He lost his first match to Campbell Jackson. Not a successful weekend for John Park, that. We'll be looking to at least go one step further today, but he may have his hands full with Joe Cullen, particularly if he continues in a similar vein with his finishing on double 16.
And of course, you know, you talk about John winning that tournament in Minehead. His ranking points come off of that, and that's why it's so important for him to have a good run here to try and compensate for losing that rankings, because we use the 1-year rollover system on the Pro Tour. And that's what put John Park in as a seed this weekend.
Yeah, 12th seed in fact. Means that he's in action today. Didn't have to come through the opening round yesterday. Cullen leaves himself 170 and ends up short of the treble 20 again in his effort for it, but he will be back. However, he's not put as big a dent in that as he would have liked.
Well, this is where John Park used to be so good from here. He would have set it up, put the pressure on his opponent. He's not really done that, although he's got a 3-dart combination. And Cullen has been pretty tidy on this double 16. Is it a hat-trick of double 16s? It is. The first breaker throw goes to the young man Joe Cullen. 2 14s and a 15-dart legs. And he's 3 legs to 1 up. And another tidy leg from Cullen.
Yeah, well, if you're going to be taking out double 16 every time you throw at it, you haven't got to do that much to win legs. John Park has got a fight on his hands here. Cullen kicking off that leg 1-3-4 on his own throw. And only a 60 from the Canadian.
The most doubles I can remember being hit on the trot was Peter Manley at the match play. He hit 8 out of 8.
Devastating stuff. I was just talking with Darren Webster earlier on. He beat Jamie Caven 6-5, deciding leg. Finally took it out on double top. That's his money double, he calls it, but he'd been struggling with it earlier in the match. He was saying the most he'd ever hit in a row, 25. 25 tops in a row. Not in competition conditions, it has to be said.
I don't think I quite got there. I think mine was 5. Apparently I was terrible on doubles, according to everybody. So I shouldn't have won a tournament, to be quite honest. But Darren Webster, talking about him, he won the PDC fishing competition last year. Yes, we have fishing competitions. We do everything at the PDC. And he won that, picked himself up a nice little £1,000 as Joe Cullen for another 14. Will it be 15? It is a 15 dart leg. This is very good throwing from Joe Cullen.
Well, it was a laboured victory against Peter Hudson, but Joe Cullen looks like he's turned up here for the second day of the Dutch Darts Masters and brought something approaching his A game. He's averaging just over 98, well clear of John Parr, who's back in the mid-80s. It's reflected in the scoreline. And the Rockstar is the heavy favourite right now to go through to the last 16 and meet Kim Huybrechts, your reigning Dutch Darts Master, or Mickey Mansell.
Also with John Parr, you know, he's started to wear the glasses for the matches now, and as we see with Dennis Priestley many years ago, and Phil Taylor tried it, that transition is a big difference. It really is, and John's still trying to work out the way and still fiddling around with the flights a little bit, and perhaps the stems and the weight of the dart. But he, you know, John is a very honest man in as much as if he didn't think that he was good enough to hack it with them, he would not do it. But he does show still brilliances of the three-time world champion. He's just lacked a bit of consistency.
It's bang in the middle of the treble 20. Can't follow it up. You mentioned the specs. I mean, John's obviously persevering with them despite having his troubles. Phil Taylor tried it out, wasn't working, and just chucked them in the bin and just won't go near them again. It's wow, there's a 180 from Joe Cullen. That's his first one of the match, 4th of the tournament, and puts him in charge here. And more than likely, with the way that he's finishing, to take a 5-1 lead. He's probably got 6 darts at this. 20 for tops, staying where he is, doesn't need to move, and no, he doesn't. Pump of the fist, pucker lips, and Joe Cullen is throwing for the match and a 6-1 victory against the 3-time world champion.
Well, it's possibly as good a performance as we've seen in the whole tournament. I mean, the only ropey leg was the one that John won, and at 19 darter. But all Joe Cullen's legs have been under 15 darts.
Yeah, very, very impressive stuff from Cullen. We have seen a few standout performances. Of course, Mervyn King, very impressive, and a 6-0 win over Dimitri Vandenberg earlier on. The Dream Maker had a bit of a nightmare. Dean Winstanley was fantastic last night, 106 average. Well, there you go. That's illustrating your point there, Rod. 14 darts, and 3 15 darters. And he's looking pretty good to continue that trend here.
Yes, possibly one of the better performances I've seen Joe in the last year or so. And sometimes all it needs, Dan, is that one really good performance to just click that confidence back in, and you know, you move to the next game, and well, the world seems a better place.
Well, John Parr looks like a man who'd rather be anywhere but Veldhoven right now, as Joe Cullen looked for another treble 20 to leave in double 8 for the match, but he has set it up absolutely perfectly. And John Parr, yeah, like a deflated balloon for a minute there. I think he knows what's coming. So Joe Cullen looking at double top for a 6-1 win, a 13 darter to finish, and there it is. Fantastic work from Joe Cullen. The man from Bradford a 6-1 victor. He'll play Kim Huybrechts or Mickey Mansell. And whoever comes through that is going to have a major challenge on their hands. Joe Cullen has signalled his intent. The Dutch Darts Masters continues. 2 more games for this afternoon session. We will find out in just a few moments who plays Joe Cullen in the next round. Will it be Mickey Mansell or will it be your Dutch Darts Master from 2013, the reigning champion, Kim Huybrechts? We'll be back in just a moment.